Hi, it's me. It's been a while and lots has happened. Lots has happened. I'm good. Tomi's good. Today is our 5th anniversary, and it's really nice to be filming. Although this is going to be very whispery because it's like 7:25 in the morning on a Saturday. This is going to be a haul video because in the past several months I have acquired books. For my birthday, I got a very lovely, very gracious gift certificate to my local bookstore, and I have been using it. So I will be sharing some of the books that I have purchased and that have been gifted to me. And I think I also have a surprise envelope somewhere that I might open right at the end. So if you stick to the end, you and I will be surprised by whatever is in that envelope. So stay tuned, get something warm. I have about 13 books that I'm going to go through. This is going to be a bit of a chatty haul because I haven't spent very much time with you guys this year. And so it's probably going to be on the longer side, but I hope that you enjoy it. I'll see you in a minute. Now, before I get into the book haul itself, I'd like to announce that on Monday, I will be participating in a live show with Janany over at This Story Ain't Over. Janany started a book club called the Reading Color Book Club, and we are going to be discussing Rosewater by Tade Thompson, which I just completed and have lots of thoughts about. So we're going to be talking about that on Monday. So if you don't know Janany, but I'm pretty sure you do, please head over to her channel, subscribe to her channel, and join us if you've read the book. Even if you haven't read the book, I think that, and you're fine with spoilers, I think it's good to just get a sense of the book and decide whether or not you want to read it. So yes, the reason why I was very excited to read Rosewater is because I also have the other 2 books in the trilogy. So there's Redemption, book 2 is The Insurrection, and book 3 is Redemption. The Rosewater Insurrection and the Rosewater Redemption. And the first book is Rosewater. So Rosewater, the Rosewater Insurrection, and the Rosewater Redemption. So please think about whether you want to join us and participate. Okay, so let's get into the haul. I tried to loosely organize these books. I'm not sure how successful I was, but I'm going to start with an independently published novella that I purchased, and I am very excited about this because I found out about this book through social media. I believe Chloe posted about this book, and Chloe is also a booktuber. She's also one of the co-hosts of the Solar Powered Afrofuturism Slow Reading Group, and her booktube channel is called Thistle and Verse. And she's an amazing researcher, and she's always sharing new, usually independently published or books or small fictional works on our website. So this one, I think I found out by her or on Instagram, but it's called The Ancestors, written by Olivia Springer. It's a collection of short stories, and the cover is beautiful. So I went to Olivia's website and I ordered the special package. So the book itself comes with a tote bag, and you know I love my tote bags. So just, can you see the glisten? Are you seeing the glistening that's happening here? So this beautiful tote bag, I think that it's handmade, but lovely tote bag that matches the cover. See? And it's black on the inside. So this is great for going to conventions and keeping it in your backpack or your purse or your whatever. Because you never know when you're going to run into random books and you're going to need a bag. So beautiful tote bag. And then also Olivia got these little bookmarks made out of the same fabric. And the way that these bookmarks work, I've never used a bookmark like this, is that, let me see if I can do it well. I think I can. You just slide the fabric square onto the top of the page. You put the page in between the little pocket that's created by the fabric. So then you've got a place where your book is marked. Isn't that nice? Okay, so now that I've talked about how pretty the book is and all the accessories, let me tell you what the book is actually about. So I'll read from the back. There is perhaps no greater bond than family. When family members die, the bond is not necessarily broken. Sometimes it can be strengthened. If we reach out and ask for assistance, those who have passed may reach back. They are there, ready to protect and guide. This collection contains stories of ancestors protecting, attacking, even shedding blood on their descendants' behalf. The ancestors are always watching. And this is published by Simply Wicked Publishing. It costs $20. And at the back, it says, she's going to be the next Octavia Butler. So that is a tall, tall order. And I think Octavia Butler would say, keep writing. Keep writing. So there we go. That is The Ancestors by Olivia Springer. And inside, you've got this beautiful cover again. And then, like, there's some photography on the inside. I don't think there's photography throughout. There is not. And there are 7 short works. And the total page count. Oh, there she is. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. And we've got 75 pages. So that is The Ancestors Stories by Olivia Springer. So that's number 1. I also got a nice card. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for writing this. All right. Now, let's go to my next set. All right. So this one has a very beautiful kaleidoscopic cover. This is Yume by Sifton, Tracey, Anipare. And it's published by Rare Machines. And the cover was by Sophia Pass Lang. So as I mentioned, my local bookstore that's queer positive is another story bookshop. And the owner sometimes will send me emails and say, oh, this is a book that's coming out. Do you know about it? And so on. And I think that's where I found out about this particular book, Yume. So let me just read it. First of all, I thought the cover was really interesting. And if you look very closely, there's a black hand and chopsticks and fish and noodles and salmon and like eggs and like octopi, something. So there's a lot of like sushi-esque food on here. There's also something that looks like a monster. So I don't know what this is about, but we'll find out together. Okay. Sybil teaches English in a small city in Japan. Her contract is up for renewal. Her mother is begging her to come back to Canada, and she's not sure where she belongs anymore. She faces ostracism and fear daily, but she loves her job despite its increasing difficulties. She vows to do her best, even when her sleep, appetite, and life in general start to get weird, and conforming to the rules that once helped her becomes a struggle. Meanwhile, yokai feast and cavort around Osaka and Kyoto as the barrier between their world and the human world thins. Zaniel spends his nights walking the dream world and serving his demon bodyguard, Aki. But there's a new yokai on the scene, and it has gotten on Aki's bad side. When Sybil gets caught up in the supernatural clash, she has to figure out what is real, and more importantly, what she really wants, before her life spirals out of control altogether. So, this is a story about, I think, a black girl living in Osaka, dealing with the teaching English. So she's from Canada, in Japan, teaching English. And as you might know, this is something that a lot of university graduates will do, go to different countries in Asia for a year or two to teach Japan. A lot of black students do this. So as somebody who's been to Japan, I think it's a really interesting story, or at least an interesting setup. And Sifton Tracey Anipare is a Ghanaian Canadian writer who lived and taught in Japan for 4 years, so she's speaking from experience. She loves video games, bubble tea, and Japanese coffee mixes, and is an avid collector of stickers and stamps. Yume is her first novel. So I feel like if you are somebody who loves anime, somebody who's lived in Japan, somebody who loves stickers and stamps, so basically Brittany, this book was written for you. But I know Noria and Sherry all love anime. I don't know Tati does. Yes, Tati does. So I think I know a lot of people who love anime. I don't watch anime or anything like that or read it, but I just feel like a lot of people do because it's great. So this might be something you find interesting. The more you look at the cover and the more you see, right? It's super cool. I think there might be a lot of food in this. And Sifton Tracey Anipare is a Ghanaian Canadian author. So this is a tome. It runs at 526 pages, and it's got a children's song on the front, and it's called Yume. So that is the next book. All right. This third book is by Zetta Elliott. So as you will know, Zetta Elliott, if I were to tell you who's my favorite children's author, it would be Zetta Elliott. And the reason is because Zetta Elliott writes wonderful work. Her work has historical notes to it. It's very much, she's very careful about locating her work in urban centers and spaces where you can learn more about the relationship between children and their environments. Her main characters are children of color and black children interacting with the world, interacting with systems like the school system, or interacting with the legal system. She's got time travel stories. So she writes for children. She writes YA. She has a poetry collection. And some of her work has been published independently in her own press. And then some of her work is published through the traditional way. And this one, I think, was. And this one is called Moonwalking. Now, Zetta Elliott is also Canadian, although she now lives in the U.S. Moonwalking. I really like the cover, and if you look closely at what the child is drawing on their book, you will notice a crown that reminds us of a certain artist, which makes me very excited. Give it on the back. So I think this was illustrated by Lynn Miller-Lachmann and published by FSG, which is Farrar Straus Giroux. I'm so sorry, it's not illustrated. So it's written by Zetta Elliott and Lynn Miller-Lachmann. And let's see who the cover artist is. Liz Dresner designed. She designed this book, so I'm not sure if that, I don't know that that means that she's a cover artist. Yes. The jacket art was done by David Cooper. So this art in the back, David Cooper. Okay? All right, so on the back it says, you don't need talent, you don't need skill. All you need is a loud voice, an electric guitar, 3 chords, and a story. I kind of don't want to know very much more about this, but I'll read because I feel like this is something you want to get into. And what I know, this is why the book is designed, right? So you've got the book written in verse, beautiful, soft, shadowy illustrations in the back, multiple fonts. Like this is reminding me of the way the Poet X is laid out. It's reminding me of, I'm probably not going to find it. Yes, Home is Not a Country by Safia Alilo. And also Me Moth and a couple of other books that I have in my collection that are written in verse. So this one says, art is a weapon. Punk rock loving J.J. Pankowski knows he'll be bullied at his new school in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, like he was at his last school in the suburbs. Art is a tool. Pierre Velez, a straight-A student by day and graffiti artist by night, is eager to follow in his idol Jean-Michel Basquiat's footsteps. Art can be the balm that the boys stumble into an unlikely friendship, swapping notes on their love of music and art, which sees them through a difficult semester at school and at home. But a run-in with the cops threatens to unravel it all. Heals all wounds. In this powerful novel in verse, co-authors Zetta Elliott and Lynn Miller-Lachmann craft a story of class, race, friendship, and 2 very different boys searching for home in a city as tumultuous and as beautiful as their dreams. That's Moonwalking. I think this might be a tearjerker. All right. So the third book is Very Wee, and she's so cute. So this is The Half Drowned by Trynne Delaney. Watercolor is my favorite style of painting, and I don't think this is watercolor, but it reminds me of that. It almost looks like a mountainside and a lake, you know, but just done in abstract. Okay. So, The Half Drowned is a vision of a future at the end of the world where what survives is the shape-shifting love of family, both given and chosen. Drawing on the Afro-diasporic ancestral knowledge of water and the urgency of desire, Delaney builds a glittering, speculative world where community holds through grief, where we must choose to fend for ourselves while also caring for others. The Half-Drowned is a genre-bending novella that crafts a polyphony of voices to speak to and through our lives and dreams in order to reach for the unspoken and unsayable and make it heard. So this was blurbed by Francesca Ekwasi, who wrote Butter, Honey, Pig Bread, which was my favorite book of last year. And so she says, told with searing insight and compassion, Trynne Delaney offers up a feast in The Half-Drowned. With swiftness, precision, and extraordinary prose, Delaney gifts us an astonishing spec-fic tale of ancestors' lineage, aliens, blood, and memory. That is The Half-Drowned. So this was published by Metatron Press. And I know that I read Metatron's Children by Chi Ryan Spain earlier this year. I'm not sure if there's a relationship there, but That is a very frequent use of the term Metatron. And then you've got some art on the inside. I love the size of the book. So this came out in 2022, published in Montreal. And the cover art was by Sydney Masuga. And this is the table of contents, and this is what it looks like inside. And to tell you a little bit about Trynne Daly is a writer currently based in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. They hold a Master of Arts in English Literature and Creative Writing from the University of Calgary. Their work appears in The Puritan, CV2, Carte Blanche, Guts, Watch Your Head, and the League of Canadian Poets chapbook, These Lands, a collection of voices by Black poets in Canada, edited by Shalene Knight. In their spare time, they like to garden. They grew up in the Maritimes, and this is a picture of them. And that is The Half Drowned. And then the last book in this section, which I now remember was my section of Canadian writers. So this one you will recognize. This is Bloodlike Fate, and it is the second book written by Liselle Sambury. It is not the second book written by her. This is the sequel to Bloodlike Magic, which I read. I also had the pleasure of interviewing Liselle Sambury. So if you go to the playlist on this channel, go to interviews, you'll find my interview with her. And I enjoyed Bloodlike Magic, and I'm ready for Bloodlike Fate. I actually had the opportunity to attend the opening, the book launch, the book release event at Indigo in Mississauga. Etobicoke? Is in Etobicoke. So I might have some footage somewhere here or there, or like somewhere here, while I talk a little bit about this book. But it was great. I actually got it signed when I went. So, yay! Okay, and the cover art is great. Okay, so Bloodlike Fate. Voya Thomas may have passed her calling to become a full-fledged witch, but the cost was higher than she'd ever imagined. Her grandmother is gone, her cousin hates her, and her family doesn't believe that she has what it takes to lead them. What's more, Voya can't let go of her feelings for Luc, sponsor son of the genius billionaire Justin Tremblay, the man that Luc believes Voya killed. Consequently, Luc wants nothing to do with her. Even her own ancestors seem to have lost faith in her. Every day, Voya begs for their guidance, but her calls go unanswered. As Voya struggles to convince everyone, herself included, that she can be a good matriarch, she has a vision of a terrifying, deadly future, a vision that would spell the end of the Toronto witches. With a newfound sense of purpose, Voya must do whatever it takes to bring her shattered community together and stop what's coming for them before it's too late. Even if it means taking down the boy she loves, who might be the mastermind behind the coming devastation. So, there we go. And I know you know that I don't love, like, hetero love and heartbreak stories, but Liselle did this in a way that made it accessible to me, so I'm very happy about that. That is the lovely Liselle on the inside. This was published by McElderry Press, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, I believe. Yes. Which is great. So this came out this year. The jacket illustration is by Thea Harvey. She's the same artist that did Bloodlike Magic. And Liselle is a Trinidadian Canadian author who grew up in Toronto, Ontario. Her brand of writing can be described as messy black girls in fantasy situations. In her free time, she shares helpful tips for upcoming writers and details of her publishing journey through a YouTube channel dedicated to demystifying the sometimes complicated business of being an author. She is lovely. So this is Bloodlike Fate. So those are the first 5 books of this haul. So I will put those down, and this seems like a good space to pause a little bit and to give you an update on some things. So what are the things that I want to update? So one thing that I want to tell you about is that we are going to be thinking, for those of you who have participated in the Octavia E. Butler slow read, thank you for doing that. Please let me know in the comments if you have participated, if you want to participate. This is a really, really good moment to jump into the slow read because we've finished all of the series. All that we have next is the standalone novel Fledgling. We also have Bloodchild, a collection of short stories. We also have Unexpected Stories, which is a collection of short stories as well. So we're going to have live shows, and the slow read is going to continue. Our next show is going to be in September, and that one's going to be Bloodchild. And then we have November, which is going to be when we read Fledgling, which is a good time to read a vampire story. And then in the new year, we're going to have Unexpected Stories. And then our Octavia E. Butler slow read is going to come to an end. And we have been thinking about how we are going to end this 2 and a bit year romp. We started in 2020. We will be ending in 2023. By the time we finish, we will have been the first group in history to have slow read on YouTube all of Octavia E. Butler's published works in near chronological order. So this is a personal joy and success for me. I am co-hosting with Tatiana from Musical Tati, who's also a booktuber, and it's great. So that is my announcement, and let's get to the next 5 books. All right, so you know that I love me some Eugen Bacon. She is amazing. I don't know how she does it, but I follow her on Facebook, and every week she's got an announcement of a book that's sold, a book that's published, a collaboration that's been done, a speech that she's done, an appearance that she's doing. She's an African-Australian author. I interviewed her on my channel in the past, so you can definitely check out her interview. She's amazing. So I received a copy of An Earnest Blackness. She's so kind to send me advance full copies of her book, and this one was published by Anti-Oedipus Press. So it's got a gorgeous cover. There's the back, and it's that velvety cover that I love. So An Earnest Blackness. In this debut collection of personal essays, Eugen Bacon offers critical perspectives on blackness, Afrofuturism, colonialism, historicity, and misrecognition as she explores the untapped possibilities of speculative fiction. Using a variety of analytic, narrative, and anecdotal techniques, Bacon shares her experience as an African-Australian woman, mother, and writer who occupies a liminal space that is betwixt worlds and genres. She also considers work by other writers ranging from Roland Barthes, Jorge Luis Borges, and Suyi Davies Okumboa, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, and Cherie Renee Thomas in an effort to chart a path towards greater social and cultural truth. Literary, adventurous, and insightful, An Earnest Blackness excavates the worlds that not only construct contemporary authorship, but the fluid nature of identity itself. That is An Earnest Blackness. And as I read this, I feel like I might have hauled this earlier. So if you see some repetition of books, I apologize. My bookshelf is overflowing, so I have all of these stacks. But in any event, you should hear about this book twice. So the cover design and layout was done by Harlan Wilson, and she has... Oh, sorry, this was an advanced reader's copy, so that's the content and acknowledgments. And this is about 119 pages. And I love when authors write about writing. So that's Eugen Bacon, very stylish, very beautiful. An African-Australian author of several novels and fiction collections, as well as writing speculative fiction. Her books Ivory Story, Dang Black Thing, and Saving Shadows were all finalists for the British Science Fiction Association Awards. And she has been nominated for or won the Forward Indies Award, Bridgeport Prize, Copyright Agency Prize, Horror Writers Association Diversity Grant, Otherwise Fellowship, Nomo Award, and others. Bacon's creative work has appeared in award-winning Australian Writing, Fantasy Magazine, Year's Best African Speculative Fiction, and Fantasy and Science Fiction. And her website is Eugen Bacon. And you can find her on Twitter. So that is an Earnest Blackness. So this one was new to me. This is Things They Lost by Okwiri Oduor. I don't remember how I found out about this one. I don't remember, and I wish I had, because I think this was recommended to me by someone, and I want to give them credit. So first of all, if you can see it, looks like this is like oil paint or acrylic oil. It's like an oil painting. You can sort of see the texture of the canvas. Can you see that? Okay. Love the cover. It's very dark and ominous, but then it has this little splash of peach. In this astonishing debut novel, filled with mystery and magic, a lonely girl struggles to free herself from her mercurial magnetic mother. That's a lot of, what's the repetition of sounds? Oh no. Oh, it's gonna come to me. It's one of the words that I really like. Ayosa is a wandering spirit, joyous, exuberant, filled to the brim with longing. Alone in her grandmother's crumbling house at the edge of a small village, her only companions are the ghosts in the attic and the mocking, spiteful jolly Annas in the garden. Oh, reading. It's early, y'all. Unexpectedly, miraculously, one day Ayosa finds a friend. Yet Ayosa is always fixed on her beautiful mama, Nabumbo Promise, a mysterious and aloof photographer who comes and goes as she pleases with no apology or warning. As Mbiu, Ayosa's new companion, introduces her to the life of the village, Ayosa calls up her mama's story and the stories of the women who came before her. 3 generations of isolated women and their daughters, the subject of frequent gossip by the townspeople, with a complicated legacy that now belongs to 12-year-old Ayosa. Torn between Mbiu and her mama, she is forced to reckon with what it means to grow up and what it means to be loved, and how she might start to make her own way in life. Set at the intersection of the spirit world and the human one, Things They Lost is a stunning and unforgettable novel that unfurls the dizzying dualities of love at its most intoxicating and all-encompassing. That's so beautiful. So that was written by Okwiri Oduor, and this is the lovely Okwiri. And she was born in Nairobi, Kenya. Her short story, My Father's Head, won the 2014 Kane Prize for African Writing. Her work has appeared in Granta, The New Inquiry, Kwani, and elsewhere. She has been a fellow at MacDowell and Art Omi, and a visiting writer at the Lannan Center. Oduor has an MFA in creative writing from the Iowa Writers Workshop. She currently lives in Germany. And this book was also published by Simon & Schuster, and the cover art was done by Lisa Wright. So this is the cover image, courtesy of Coates and Scary. So that's Things They Lost. This kind of reminds me of a bit of the storyline of Butter, Honey, Pig Bread. This sort of like tremulous relationship that we have with our mothers, and wanting them to be closer, not being able to access them the ways that we want. So them kind of having this fleeting presence in our lives, whether it's because of physical proximity or lack thereof, or because they're interested in, they have a project like art or religion or sport, something that takes them away, their careers or whatever, and this sort of longing to connect with them. I can identify with that, and stories like that really get me every time. This story is it's so interesting. This is Glory by Noviolet Bulawayo. And this one, so I found out about this from a website. I think I got to this when I was doing some research on African speculative fiction, and I wanted to find out like what's being published by African authors. And so this is Glory. I'll read the synopsis and then I'll tell you why I'm sort of like laughing at the cover, okay? So also very aesthetically pleasing color choices. All right. Noviolet Bulawayo's bold new novel follows the fall of the old horse, the long-serving leader of a fictional country, and the drama that follows for a rumbustious nation of animals on the path to true liberation. Inspired by the unexpected ouster by coup in November 2017 of Robert G. Mugabe, Zimbabwe's president of nearly 4 decades, Glory shows a country's imploding, narrated by a chorus of animal voices that unveil the ruthlessness required to uphold the illusion of absolute power and the imagination and bulletproof optimism to overthrow it completely. By immersing readers in the daily lives of a population in upheaval, Bulawayo reveals the dazzling life force and irrepressible wit that lie barely concealed beneath the surface of seemingly bleak circumstances. At the center of this tumult is Destiny, a young goat who returns to Jidada to bear witness to revolution and to recount the unofficial history and potential legacy of the females who have quietly pulled the strings, the animal kingdom, its connection to our primal responses, and its resonance in the mythology, folktales, and fairy tales that define cultures the world over, unmasks the surreality of contemporary global politics to help us understand our world more clearly, even as Bulawayo plucks us right out of it. Although Zimbabwe is the immediate inspiration for this thrilling story, Glory was written in a time of global clamor, with resistance movements across the world challenging different forms of oppression. Thus, it often feels like Bulawayo captures several places in one blockbuster allegory, crystallizing a turning point in history with the texture and nuance that only the greatest fiction can. Oh my God, what a blurb. Good Lord. Glory, that's like a wonderful word for this. Glory. So the reason I smiled at this is because I read Animal Farm, and I just feel like when I saw this at first, I was like, is this Animal Farm? Is this related to Animal Farm in some way? There's no reference to it, but I think the only other story that I've read about political upheaval and resistance where the characters were animals was Animal Farm. So yes, anyway, I'm really excited to read it. I shouldn't make that comparison. I think too often African stories are compared to European ones, and I'm not going to do that anymore here. But I am super excited. And one thing that I laugh about on this cover is the fact that the N of her name is askew because this bull is curious about it or nudging it or eating it. So I think that's interesting. And the name Noviolet is beautiful. Noviolet. Beautiful. Okay. So the next story is Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the sequel to Black Sun. I have not read Black Sun, so I feel like if I blurb this, then it will tell me more about Black Sun. And I've tried to not follow any of the social media acclaim of Black Sun because I want to just read it just like that. But the thing is, because I read so slowly, I tend to forget a story in between, in like the books in between series. So I like to collect them all. So I just want to let you know that I purchased Fevered Star. I will read it. I'm not sure if this is a duology. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a duology. Well, it says it's book 2, which suggests that it's not the end. But it's got a map. A colored map, which is always great. And that's Rebecca Roanhorse. So I'm looking forward to when, collecting all of the books and then reading them all together. But I know I like the cover. I'm just liking that. Okay, and then the last book in this batch is Me Tomorrow, Indigenous Visions of the Future. Now you might be asking, why do you have a book about Indigenous futurism on a channel that is about Black speculative fiction? So I will answer that question. Number one, just because a book is Indigenous doesn't mean that any of the authors of the shorter works inside the book are not African descended in some way. That's number one, so that's a false assumption. But number two is the fact that for me, reading on Turtle Island and reading about Black speculative fiction and about futurisms, I don't think I can do that responsibly without reading about and turning my mind to the stolen Indigenous land and the relationships between African descended individuals, diasporic Africans who may have ancestors who were enslaved like myself, and just being on this land. So every so often I will read Indigenous futurist books because I want to learn more about the connection between and the possible connections between the liberation movements of African descended individuals and also Indigenous nations across Turtle Island. So that is the answer to the question that you may or may not have had. So, Me Tomorrow, Indigenous Views on the Future. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit artists, activists, educators, and writers, youth and elders come together to envision Indigenous futures in Canada and around the world. Discussing everything from language renewal to sci-fi, this powerful and important collection is a genre-bending expression of imagination rooted in social critique, cultural experience, traditional knowledge, activism, and the multifaceted experiences of Indigenous people on Turtle Island. For readers who want to imagine the future and to cultivate a better one, Me Tomorrow is a journey through the visions generously offered by a diverse group of Indigenous thinkers. So that is Me Tomorrow, gorgeous cover, and this is the table of contents, and it runs about 210 pages, and there are a number of different writers in here. I'm assuming that at least one of them is Afro-Indigenous because there are many Afro-Indigenous writers in Canada. And so I'm hoping that there will be some writing here by African Indigenous authors. So that is Me Tomorrow. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this is another good place to pause. So I'm pausing here because I want to just let you know that this channel will be reaching its 5th year of existence. So one of the cool things about this channel is that I started it on my honeymoon, and the reason why that's important is because I am filming this video on August 20th, 2022. And on August 20th, 2017, I married the lovely Tommy Elizabeth Sojourner and became a Sojourner Campbell. And so actually today she's sleeping. She's sleeping right now. Don't talk loud because you're going to wake her up. She's sleeping right now, and we are celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary today. And so it's kind of fitting that on this day, a day 5 years ago where we went to the Arboretum in Humber College and got married, and then went to Osgoode Hall Law School and had a reception, and then shortly thereafter left on a mini honeymoon to Vancouver. It's just fitting that I would do it today because our wedding anniversary also marks my channel anniversary, which is upcoming. So in September, I believe it's September 11th, that was the date that I uploaded my first booktube video. It's going to be my 5-year anniversary, so we're going to be doing a little something on the channel. And I'd love to hear your ideas of how I can celebrate 5 years of Onyx Pages. So I don't know, maybe like a live reaction to my very first video. I don't know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So in the comments below, let me know how you would like to see the 5th anniversary of this channel celebrated. And also, yay, anniversary. Okay, so we are at the last batch. Okay, so this one, I remember how I found out about this. I found out about this because Sajid told me. And I just feel like I love it when... So Sajid knows that I am going to be reading more Caribbean authors, and I've talked to him. He lives in Trinidad. He's a content creator as well. And his channel name is escaping me right now. I have to... Hold on. Let me just look it up because... Y'all, I've been having like memory stuff go on where I just like alliteration. That was the word I was looking for. Okay, what is Sajid's channel? Books Are My Social Life. So Sajid over at Books Are My Social Life told me about this book. I had not heard about it before, but he knows that I'm constantly looking for speculative fiction writing by Caribbean authors, and he told me about this. So I thank you, Sajid. I bought a copy of it. And so this is called When We Were Birds. It also has, like, the covers are giving this year. Giving. They've been giving, honestly, for the past several years. This is by Ayanna, Lloyd, Banwo. Okay. I just saw Trinidad. It made me very happy. So, a mythic love story set in Trinidad, Ayanna Lloyd Banwo's radiant debut introduces two unforgettable outsiders brought together by their connection with the dead. Already off to a good start. In the old house on a hill, where the city meets the rainforest, Yejide's mother is dying. She's leaving behind a legacy that now possesses Yejide. One Saint Bernard woman in every generation must shepherd the city's souls into the afterlife. But after years of suffering her mother's neglect and bitterness, Yejide is looking for a way out. Raised in the countryside by a devout mother, Darwin has always abided by the ancient Rastafarian vow not to interact with the dead. He has never been to a funeral, much less seen a dead body. But when the only job he can find is grave digging, he must betray the life his mother built for him in order to provide for them both. Newly shorn of his dreadlocks and his past, and determined to prove himself, Darwin finds himself adrift in a city electric with possibility and danger. Yejide and Darwin will meet inside the gates of Fidelis, an old and sprawling cemetery where the dead lie uneasy in their graves, and a reckoning with fate beckons them both. A masterwork of lush imagination and exuberant storytelling. When We Were Birds is a spellbinding and hopeful novel about inheritance, loss, and love's seismic power to heal. Well, giving me lots of feelings. And I want to talk about a book also that I feel that I haven't yet read. I thought it was here. But it's not. And I am unsure why. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is These Ghosts Are Family. And I feel like, and this is set in, I want to say, Jamaica and the US. So I feel like family, ghosts, the Caribbean. Obviously, these books are not the same, but the themes of family and legacy and the dead seem to be alive in these books in very different contexts. And I think that when I do like my reading of Caribbean speculative fiction, I will want to read those two together. Jamaica and Trinidad have very different histories, and so I'm interested in what will happen as I read those potentially together. So back to When We Were Birds by Ayanna Lloyd Banwo. So to tell you a little bit about her, that's her there. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know that those are her pronouns. I shouldn't assume that. Ayanna Lloyd Banwo is a writer from Trinidad and Tobago. Her work has been published in The Caribbean Writer, Moko Small Axe, Pui, Pre, Callaloo, and Anomaly. She received an MA in creative writing from the University of East Anglia and is now a postgraduate researcher in critical writing at UEA. When We Were Birds is her first novel. She's on Twitter and Instagram. So that's When We Were Birds. It's not in focus. There we go. When We Were Birds. Okay. We are at almost an hour. Oh my goodness. Okay. The next book is No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. Ooh. I should tell you about the cover. Did I tell you about the cover design? The jacket illustration was by Raxen Maniquis, and this book was published by Doubleday. Okay. No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. Cadwell Turnbull wrote The Lesson. I own it, have not read it. It is here. Perils of a Slow Reader, right? So, first book, I believe, and No Gods, No Monsters next. All right. So, beautiful, beautiful cover art. Beautiful. And it blurbed by P. Jelly Clark, Rebecca Roanhorse, like the cover design by Catherine Galloway English. Okay, No Gods, No Monsters. So I heard that this book, like I've heard from people I very much respect, writers themselves, who are like, in Jerry, you must read No Gods, No Monsters. So yes, let me tell you about it. One October morning, Lena gets the news that her brother has been shot and killed by Boston cops. But what looks like a case of police brutality soon reveals something much stranger. Monsters are real, and they want everyone to know it. As creatures from myth and legend come out of the shadows, seeking safety through visibility, their emergence sets off a chain of seemingly unrelated events. Members of a local werewolf pack are threatened into silence. A professor follows a missing friend's trail of breadcrumbs to a mysterious secret society, and a young boy with unique abilities seeks refuge in a pro-monster organization with secrets of its own. Meanwhile, more people start disappearing. Suicides and hate crimes increase, and protests erupt globally, both for and against the monsters. At the center is a mystery no one thinks to ask. Why now? What has frightened the monsters out of the dark? The world will soon find out. Dun, dun, dun. So, No Gods, No Monsters. Book 1 of the Convergence saga. So, I may not actually read this right away. It's really hard. You read one thing and then it's just like you wait and wait for the next thing to come out, but then you read so slowly that it might take years before you read the next thing, right? So like, for example, Nnedi Okorafor, I haven't even read Akata Warrior yet because I was waiting for Akata Woman to come out. So I think the trilogy is over now. I can read it all together because like it's hard, y'all, to wait. So No Gods, No Monsters. And as a slow reader, I don't have time to reread books. It takes me a long time to read a book. Okay. Turnbull, Cadwell Turnbull is the author of The Lesson. His short fiction has appeared in The Verge, Lightspeed, Nightmare, Asimov Science Fiction, and several anthologies, including the Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy of 2018, the year's Best Science Fiction Fantasy 2019. His first novel, The Lesson, was the winner of the 2020 Newcomb Institute Literary Award in the debut category. The novel was also shortlisted for the VCU Cabell Award and longlisted for the Massachusetts Book Award. Turnbull lives in Raleigh, and teaches at North Carolina State University. That's Cadwell Turnbull. And No Gods, No Monsters. Obviously, I have The Memory Librarian, a collection of stories written with Janelle Monáe and other writers. So The Memory Librarian and Other Stories of Dirty Computer. You know that I love Janelle Monáe's artistry. Her singing, her dancing, her videos, her commentary, her activism, her business. Like, I just really appreciate her, and we're secret best friends. I mean, the secret is that we're not actually best friends, but we're best friends in my mind. I think she's a lovely young woman, and I just really appreciate her. And I learned about her many, many, many years ago. Like, I would say 2011, 2012, maybe, right? And like, I learned about her before she was Janelle Monáe. She was performing under another name, and yeah, I'm just super proud of her. So, and also, I've heard a lot about the creation of this book by Cherie Renee Thomas. So, I'll read the what's on the inside of the desk jacket, and then I'll tell you my little story. So, Janelle Monáe and an incredible array of talented collaborators have crafted a collection of tales comprising the bold vision and powerful themes that have made Monáe such a compelling and celebrated storyteller. Dirty Computer introduced a world in which thoughts, as a means of self-conception, could be controlled or erased by a select few. And whether you were human, AI, or other, your life and sentience were dictated by those who'd convinced themselves they had the right to decide your fate. That was until Jane 57821 decided to remember and break free. Expanding from that mythos, these stories fully explore what it's like to live in a totalitarian society and what it takes to get out of it. Building off the tradition of speculative fiction writers such as Octavia E. Butler, Ted Chiang, Becky Chambers, and Nnedi Okorafor, and filled with powerful themes and Monáe's emblematic artistic vision, The Memory Librarian serves to readers tales that dissect the human trials of identity expression, technology, and love, reaching through to the worlds of memory and time, and the stakes and power that pulse there. And so if you look at the contents, the stories were all written, I think they were all written with someone, with another writer. Yes. So Janelle Monáe wrote the introduction, and then she worked with and collaborated with other writers to write all the other pieces. So The Memory Librarian was written by Janelle Monáe and Elia Dawn Johnson. So I've read The Summer Prince by Elia Dawn Johnson. I also have Something the Saints. It's right up there. Trouble the Saints by Elia Dawn Johnson that I haven't read yet. So that's the first story, The Memory Librarian. Then we have Nevermind by Janelle Monáe and Danny Lore. And I think Nevermind is it the gas that erases all of your, or the computer that erases all of your memories or dreams? Then there's Time Box, written by Janelle Monáe and Eve L. Ewing. I haven't read any of their work. And then Save Changes, written by Janelle Monáe and Johansa Delgado. Same, haven't read any of Johansa's work. And Time Box Altered by Janelle Monáe and Shireen Renee Thomas. And Shireen Renee Thomas is like a pillar of Afrofuturism, is amazing. I had the opportunity to meet her this year. Maybe I'll put a picture here or here or here or here or here. And she talked about working with Janelle Monáe, and I also interviewed her, actually. You can see it on this channel. I'll put a picture here, but watch the interview. I interviewed her and Danny and Jerry and Alex Jennings when I was at the WizCon convention. So you can, like, she talks about the Memory Librarian, and she also talks about 9 Bar Blues, which is, I think, on the other side. I won't be able to reach it, but it is her collection of short stories inspired by like Afrofuturism and jazz and music and growing up in Memphis. So amazing. Anyway, so that is the Memory Librarian. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is Starchild. It is a biographical constellation of Octavia Estelle Butler by E.B. Zaboy, and just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And in the back, you'll see the star shape, excuse me. Starchild. Estelle is her middle name. Estelle means star, a bright shining light at the highest point on a pyramid or a tree or a solar system, there to remind us to look above our heads and witness the wonder of the sky like an ocean blue blanket or a glittered canopy guarding the secrets of other worlds. And like a star, she was born to listen to the whispers of the universe, to gather the constellations and weave them into stories. Before Octavia E. Butler became one of America's greatest authors, she was a little black girl with a huge imagination and an even bigger drive to succeed. Born into the space race, the Red Scare, and the dawning civil rights movement, Butler experienced an American childhood that shaped her into the groundbreaking science fiction genius, whose novels and short stories continue to challenge and inspire readers around the world. E.B. Zaboy was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. She's written numerous books for young readers, including American Street, a National Book Award finalist, and My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich. She co-authored the best-selling and award-winning Punching the Air with prison reform activist Yusuf Salam of the Exonerated Five, and she is also the author of Okoye to the People, a Black Panther novel. Raised in New York City, E.B. now lives in New Jersey with her husband and 3 children. So of E.B. Zaboy's work, I have read My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich, which was really sweet, and also America Street. I feel like I've read a third thing that might have had poetry, but those are the 2 that I remember right now. So that is Starchild, E.B. Zaboy. I love Octavia Butler's writing. It's got pictures and illustrations, also written in verse. Okay. Beautiful. I don't think I read... Did I read Ayanna's? I did. Okay. That's everything. It's been a whole hour. It's been a whole hour. I think I will try to put some timestamps on this. But I just want to thank you for this journey. Thank you for supporting the channel. I hope that you enjoyed this chatty haul. And I don't think I have any more announcements. I don't think so. If I do, I'll put them up somewhere. Oh, you know what? I do I do have an announcement, and it's not book related, but I will tell you about it. Let me see. Hold on. It's a project that I've been working on that I'm super excited about. So I'll tell you. One second. Hold on. Okay. So, thank you for watching all the way to the end. So, I did a thing. I'm just going to say it. Okay. So I created an affirmation deck for Black women and femmes in the workplace. The reason why I created this is because I've always wanted to do some kind of deck, whether it be like tarot or affirmations or something. And I decided that, because in 2020, I was kind of feeling like, some of us started to move to remote work, and I was just thinking about all the untrue things that we start to believe about ourselves as Black women, femmes, non-binary folks, and trans folks in the workplace. And I was like, I want something nearby that affirms me and that can speak to me in those moments when I feel less than. Let's be honest. So I created an affirmation deck. It's called These Words Are True. And this is how it comes. It costs $35 US. It's being sold right now. I'll put the website in the downstairs, as Bear would say. Also, because it's shipping from Canada, there'll be like probably exorbitant shipping costs, just so that you know. So this is the deck, and it is hexagon in shape because I wanted it to sort of remind us of honey. And so on the outside, you've got these words are true. On the inside, we have affirmations. So this one says, I attract abundance at work. This one says, I deserve to have my boundaries respected at work. And this one says, my Black colleagues support me. So there are 48 cards in the deck, and there are like 5 different background colors, and each background color stands for something. Like the black ones are my bombastic ones. They're my, I really want to say go fuck yourself, but I can't. So this one says, for example, no one steals my shine. So when you buy the deck, you get it in a tin like this, and you'll get this and a little postcard from me saying thank you. So that is a project that right in April, I was like, let me just do this. Let me just get it done. I've wanted to do it for so long, for 7 years. I've wanted to do, before even knowing about BookTube, right? I wanted to do something like this, and I finally have done it. I have to thank my wife, Tommy, and my friend Brittany, who has Melanin Eclectic, and she has so much business acumen and knowledge. I have a lot of respect for business owners because it's a very different experience. Not my strongest skill set, I will say. So you'll have to be patient with me in terms of orders and things like that, because I'm learning how to do all of this for the very first time. But yeah, I hope that you learn more about the deck. Please feel free to share it. We have limited amounts right now. This is just the first run, but yeah, take a look, and I hope, and let me know what you think. You can send me an email. I've got a Gmail address that's specifically about the deck, and also in the comments below, feel free to let me know what you think. All right, everyone. So this brings us to the end of our time together. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to read with purpose. And if you have watched this all the way to the end, please include a plant in the comment that you leave. I would love to hear from you, and have a wonderful end of your summer if you are in a temperate zone, and have a wonderful rest of your August if you are watching this from somewhere with tropical weather. All right, take good care. Read with purpose. Bye.